I also want to bring in Yahoo Finance's Rick Newman, who joins us on
Hey guys.
This is something, I mean, you were talking about President Trump declaring the state of emergency for weeks before this happened. It's over an issue, though, that as a Quinnipiac poll showed, 2/3 of Americans don't even want this border wall.
Right. He's going to the mat for something that is not a priority for most Americans. And I mean, I think we can just come out and say it's ridiculous to say that this is an emergency. It is not an emergency. There's, without a doubt, a situation on the southwest border. But we have trained professionals, thousands of them, dealing with it now. We already have barriers in place. And I think that we need to make an important distinction on the emergency declaration. So we've talked about other presidents have declared emergencies in this way, but there's a crucial difference with this one, that Trump is actually using this to snatch money from other programs. Congress said that money should be used for these other things, and Trump is saying, I now have the power to say I'm going to take it from those programs, two things in particular, other types of drug interdiction and then military construction. The other presidents who declared emergencies did not do that. Those were not about, that was relating to overseas things, for terrorist threats and things like that, trying to lock up assets and that kind of thing. I'm not aware of another instance where a president actually used this to grab money from a different program to spend on something that's his own personal priority.
But all that money will be locked up. It's not going to hit the military. It's not going to be taken until all of this is played out in court. Is that right? So
he's going to get $1.4 billion. That's in the bill. And then my understanding is that this money that can come...
$3.5 million
well,
billion.
he's going to get another $600 million that he gets from this drug forfeiture program at the Treasury Department, that he can take that money without the emergency declaration, because that is not money that Congress has appropriated. That is money that, Treasury, that's sort of the other category of federal government revenue, which is small, but it's not money that's appropriated by Congress. So he's going to have about $2 billion to work with. So he can start spending that money, and then the litigation is going to be over the other $6 billion. So he's going to have something. He's going to have some seed money to work with. I mean, $2 billion isn't nothing.
No, it's not, and it's quite a bit when you look at how much he's going to be spending on this wall. But when you talk about what sparked the first government shutdown, it was this issue, and President Trump was also asked by a reporter if the first shutdown was a waste. Take a listen to what he said.
I made a deal. I got almost $1.4 billion when I wasn't supposed to get $1. Not $1. He's not going to get $1. Well, I got $1.4 billion, but I'm not happy with it.
So there you go. He's not happy with it. Now, clearly, he's trying to find funds elsewhere. I mean, that to me seems like one of the biggest issues here, right? When we talk about the executive branch basically coming out and saying, all right, there's a reason why we have these checks in terms of trying to make sure that money doesn't get just spent the way that the president, one person wants it to go. Is that kind of the biggest red flag and biggest reason for alarm here?
Yeah, I mean, at a basic level, the U.S. Constitution says Congress appropriates what the money is to be spent on. The president doesn't get to decide that. Obviously, he has input, and there's some discretion within the executive branch. But I mean, this is just a basic fundamental matter of how our democracy works. So Trump wants to overturn that, and I mean, we're all going to get a civics lesson as this plays out in the court. Trump acknowledged that this is going to go straight into court and going to be tied up there for a while. He seems to think he's going to win at the Supreme Court, and he pointed out that his ban on travelers from Muslim countries, after he revised it, actually was upheld at the Supreme Court 5-4. But that's, totally different principle, so who knows?
Absolutely. And again, the challenge to this is definitely going to be something to watch as it plays out, to see if he can actually move forward with this project that clearly he cares so much about.
I mean, for our audience that cares about financial markets, I mean, in a way, this is good news. It gets us past the whole issue of shutdowns. We don't have to worry about that for who knows how long. I mean, at least probably not for the rest of this year. We have other issues coming. We have the debt ceiling is going to have to be raised.
That's not the only issue as well.
Yeah, that's actually a bigger deal.
For sure.
We got other things coming up, but at least we don't have to worry about this.
Well, one of them is trade talks with China, and President Trump also weighed in on those negotiations between the U.S. and China happening in Beijing this week. Take a listen to that.
In China, we've had a negotiation going on for about 2 days. It's going extremely well. Who knows what that means, because it only matters if we get it done, but we're very much working very closely with China and President Xi, who I respect a lot. Very good relationship that we have. And we're a lot closer than we ever were in this country with having a real trade deal.
So optimism.
I feel a lot better.
Who knows what that means?
Who knows what that means? But optimism on the trade front, as clearly, again, each time we have these updates on the trade talks, it does seem that something's moving forward in terms of both sides saying that they do want to get a deal done.
I think the biggest development here is that Trump himself has made a concession, and that's his willingness to extend the deadline. Now, I mean, you use a deadline as leverage. That's the whole reason you have a deadline in the first place, is you basically have this weapon, which is that bad things are going to happen once we hit this deadline if you don't give me what I want. And Trump has basically put that weapon away. And I think that indicates a couple of things. I think he's probably just getting tired of this process himself. He actually does not seem very engaged. I mean, he said he had nothing specific to say about trade, as if he doesn't really know more than we who are just reading the headlines.
It was kind of surprising.
He had nothing, no substance whatsoever.
To say who knows what that means, especially since he's the one who's been tweeting about this, and we've seen the market react to those tweets. And today, obviously, the market up. We can see the Dow up over 300 points right there. But
I think that tells you that markets think. I don't think we see signs that the Chinese are caving in any significant way. I mean, the reporting from inside the negotiations is no, that we are not making headway on the big issues about getting China to change its economy at a structural level, break the link between the government and the huge state-owned companies it uses all around the world to, grab market share and pressure other companies and stuff. We're seeing no signs of change on that, and yet Trump says he's willing to extend the deadline. So I think markets are interpreting this, and I agree with it, as Trump is going a little bit soft here, and he's willing to bend in order to get a deal, because he cannot let this hang over markets forever and be the guy who takes the blame, when markets say, holy crap, this is getting bad, and stocks nosedive.
And we've seen a lot of companies reacting to those tariffs in earnings reports and everything like that, specifically mentioning both the slowdown in China as well as the tariffs themselves. So if those do get extended, it would be big. All right, thanks so much.
Thanks, guys.
Appreciate it.